visiting day. The first thing Gracie said was,
"Your sister always remembered to bring flowers."
Laurel appeared in the doorway holding 2 grocery bags that cut red grooves into her fingers. One bag held detergent plus, clean sweatpants, a t-shirt, and underwear, all still warm from the laundromat. The other held applesauce cups, thick socks, denture adhesive, and the lemon cookies the nurses said Gracie sometimes still liked.
"I can get flowers next time,"
Laurel said, eyeing the vase on the windowsill, which still held drooping carnations from her last visit. Gracie barely looked at her as Laurel entered the room and shut the door behind her. Gracie's eyes wandered instead toward the television mounted in the corner. There, a telenovela played out at low volume, the latest relationship crisis that could never reach resolution. She didn't understand a word of Spanish, not that it mattered one bit. Laurel headed off complications 24-hour TV viewing could spark by removing any shopping channel options and exchanging Gracie's credit card for a monthly pittance of some folding money. It was just enough for Gracie to buy a coffee and a snack when the nursing home shuttle took the still ambulatory residents to the local Walmart for a little cheap rehabilitation therapy.
"Claire always knew what a lady should do."
Laurel set the bags down carefully. She had learned not to answer certain things. Arguing with dementia was an act of futility she had long ago learned to avoid. Outside the narrow window of Gracie's private room, rain splashed the parking lot. The live oaks bent in the wind. The storm predicted a few days ago finally arrived. Somewhere down the hall, another woman's shouts of, "Caesar! Caesar! Come here, boy!" could be heard through the thin walls. The cute little Westie with the big name had been dead these past 20 years. Gracie tugged at the blanket on her lap with swollen fingers.
"Are we expecting company?" "We're calling Claire today, remember?"
At that, her mother's face brightened with startling clarity, like a lamp briefly reconnecting to power.
"Claire,"
she said.
"My beautiful best girl."
Laurel swallowed.
"Yeah, Mom, Claire."
Laurel unpacked the laptop from her tote bag and set it on the rolling tray table. The nursing home Wi-Fi was unreliable. Laurel had spent 40 minutes in the parking lot earlier testing hotspots and restarting updates because if the call failed, her mother would cry inconsolably afterwards, or worse, forget it had ever been planned and accuse Laurel of lying. As the computer booted, Gracie studied her youngest daughter with vague suspicion.
"You need to freshen your hairdo. I cut it a couple of months ago. It would look prettier with a perm. You'll catch a man's eye with a little more effort."
Laurel smiled faintly.
"I suppose, if that's what I wanted." "Of course you do, dear."
The truth was, she no longer had patience for sitting in a salon chair getting her hair done. Between work, bills, medication lists, and weekly driving 30 minutes each way to the facility, there was no room in her schedule for vanity. She couldn't be bothered trying to attract men. The screen chimed. Claire appeared from a sunlit kitchen somewhere in Oregon, framed by white cabinets and expensive appliances in the background. Her silver blonde hair was arranged effortlessly. Behind her hung copper pans no one probably cooked with. "Oh, there's my mama," Claire said warmly. A glass of Riesling, sitting on the granite countertop, peeked into the frame. For a moment, everything else disappeared from Gracie's notice.
"My darling girl."
Laurel stepped back instinctively into a corner, as if making room for royalty. Claire proceeded through her usual litany of questions. She asked about the weather in Texas.
"Texas is a big state, dear. My little part of it is nice today."
Gracie answered with certainty, belying the storm now thrashing the trees in the parking lot. About lunch.
"We had liver and onions."
Gracie paused.
"Oh, no, it was meatloaf and a nice salad."
About whether the nurses were treating her well.
"Oh, they only come in to stuff pills into my mouth."
Gracie answered each question with eager animation until suddenly she went silent to gather her thoughts before they slipped away again.
"You were always the smart one,"
Gracie finally said.
"Such a good daughter to ask about me."
Claire's smile broadened enough to show more flawlessly white teeth. "Well," Claire said lightly, "Laurel's the one taking care of everything." Gracie waved this away.
"Oh, Laurel was wild as a teenager."
She chuckled suddenly.
Lord, the trouble she caused me.
The old humiliation arrived with perfect sharpness. Strange, Laurel thought, what disease preserved? Her mother could not remember lunch, but she remembered her sneaking out windows in 1987. LL gave you gray hair, Claire joked, using the nickname Laurel despised.
Yes,
Gracie said, delighted.
you never did.
When they were children, the eldest sister's honor roll certificates were displayed on the refrigerator. She did chores without being asked. She had gone away to college and sent handwritten thank you notes home. If perfection had a name, it was Claire. The youngest sister had been loud music and slammed doors, cigarettes and pot hidden in coffee cans, a tattoo at 17, a police officer once bringing her home after midnight because the car she was riding in had beer bottles rolling around the floorboards. If disappointment had a name, it was Laurel. Funny thing was, Claire had moved on successfully. She had built a careful life far away. She mailed birthday cards and ordered flowers online every Mother's Day. She called when she could. Laurel had stayed closer. She told herself she wasn't being noble, but rather convenient. Her parade of exes were all right there. Her software coding jobs had always been in a local office or remote at home during COVID. Her whole messy life had remained within driving distance of her mother's growing needs and neediness. At first, it was small things, which alone would have been dismissed as ordinary aging. But the missed appointments, the burned pans, and repeated stories accumulated into a preliminary diagnosis of Alzheimer's. Then, wandering away while leaving the stove on became the final behaviors that committed Gracie to assisted living and eventually memory care. Laurel had sat in emergency rooms while her mother asked every 10 minutes when Claire was arriving. Claire never arrived. Meanwhile, Laurel learned the names of all the nurses in the ER and later in the nursing home.
You remember that dress you wore to Easter?
Gracie asked Claire suddenly.
You looked like Princess Diana.
Claire awe-shucked with a soft smile.
You were beautiful.
Laurel remembered Easter dresses as an awkward cosplay at best. She never resembled royalty. The call continued another 20 minutes. Claire promised to visit soon.
You always say that,
Gracie said, not accusingly, merely confused. I know, Mama.
You're such a good daughter.
The screen froze briefly before reconnecting. I love you, Claire said.
I love you more.
Then the call ended. The room became very quiet. Gracie stared at the blank screen a long time after Claire disappeared. Finally, she sighed contentedly.
My Claire.
Laurel began packing the laptop away. Her mother looked over suddenly, seeming startled to find another person in the room.
Oh,
She said.
are you the nurse?
Laurel stopped moving.
No, Mom.
Gracie frowned. There was a terrible moment of searching. Then, unexpectedly, recognition arrived.
Laurel, you hardly come by.
Laurel could barely suppress the grimace struggling to emerge.
Only every week, Mom. We see each other every Friday.
Gracie reached out weakly. Laurel took her hand gently. The skin felt thin and dry as old paper.
You were always difficult,
Gracie murmured sleepily.
but you had a good heart, especially on Fridays.
Laurel let out a breath that almost became a laugh at her mother's joke. Her mother's wry sense of humor hadn't faded that much over the years. Laurel sat beside her mother until Gracie drifted asleep, still holding her hand. Assured her mother was fully asleep, Laurel kissed her mother's cheek and let herself out of the room. She met up with her latest partner, Roxy, in the parked car. Roxy had just zipped up her headset and laptop into a backpack.
The connection was really good today. No utterly glitchy video like last time.
Laurel said as she settled into her seat. Roxy looked at her with an expression somewhere between sympathy and accusation.
Are you ever going to tell her?
No, it would just confuse her unnecessarily.
Laurel answered in a resigned whisper.
You know, I've never come out to her. How can I tell her something else that would break her heart?
Laurel knew her mother would never accept the rationale. She figured that the AI-enabled animation of Claire in her perfect kitchen and Roxy's words coming out of the laptop speaker in Claire's voice were for the best. She had no intention of recounting how she identified her sister's body at the county morgue after it was retrieved lifeless from the car crash, or her sister's ridiculously high blood alcohol level in the forensic lab's report. Gracie would go to her grave believing her favorite was flawless. Laurel just wanted to make her mom happy. An illusion to feed a delusion was all she had to offer, and it would have to do. Finis.